A Monkey Manor's Tale by Altai Zinalov. The tropical forest is a beautiful place full of green. The air and environment are sparkling clean. A little long-eared hare lives there. His name is Easton. He has a vegetable patch of his own, which he cares for tenderly. He wants to grow the tastiest vegetables in the whole forest. When lunchtime comes, he pulls out a fresh carrot and feasts on it, enjoying its wonderful taste. But everything changed one night when Easton was in bed, fast asleep. The next morning, when it was time to treat himself to a sweet carrot, Easton noticed something disgraceful. Someone with very bad manners had thrown a candy wrapper right into his vegetable patch. Easton was even more astounded when he saw that there were 100 more wrappers lying all around. After a moment's thought, he decided to follow the garbage trail, certain it would lead him straight to the rascal. The trail led him to a big tree, with a huge pile of wrappers towering below it. "Hey, who's throwing around garbage so shamelessly?" Easton exclaimed in disappointment. The hare looked up and saw the answer just above his head. On a branch of the big tree sat an ill-mannered monkey. The monkey was gobbling candy and throwing the wrappers on the ground without a care. "Hey, you! Why are you littering in our forest? Stop it right away!" cried Easton indignantly at the monkey. Having been discovered, the monkey took fright. He turned tail and ran as fast as he could, forgetting all about the candy. The monkey jumped so skillfully among the trees, the hare couldn't catch up. However, being quite frightened, the monkey lost control after a while and fell head over heels down towards the ground, until he got caught in a tangle of vines and branches. He tried to free himself, but there was no one around to give him a hand. The monkey lost all hope. When, suddenly, Easton appeared from behind the trees. He approached and asked, "Hey, monkey, why do you have such bad manners? Why do you think you can throw garbage all around this way?" The monkey had nothing to say, so he simply looked away, ashamed. "Okay, don't worry," said Easton, relenting. "I'll set you free. Everything's going to be all right." He helped the monkey get down to the ground and asked, "Now, will you be so kind as to clean up after yourself?" Oh, how embarrassed the monkey felt! He didn't utter a word and got down to work. He cleaned everything up to the last piece until the forest looked the same as before, and Easton could again enjoy his carrots in a neat vegetable patch alongside a now well-mannered monkey. The end.
Responsibility is the Key, written by Altai Zinalov. In the forest, there lived many kinds of animals, but there was one family that they all respected. It was a family of beavers. Why did everybody love them? Because they were the best builders in the forest. They helped keep order and took care of all the animals. Everyone had a good life. Today, they had a very important task. They needed to build a giant dam. Heavy rains were expected very soon, and without a dam, the forest would be flooded. The birds said, "Hurry, please," because heavy thunderclouds were already blanketing the sky. With that warning, the family of beavers made up their mind to start working immediately. The beavers each had a responsibility. One directed the group and made sure everything got done in the right order and at the right time. Another beaver cut down the trees, and the third beaver collected branches to reinforce the dam. All of them were beavering away. At long last, the construction was nearly over. All they needed was a few branches to finish the dam. "Who will go and bring another 10 branches?" Father Beaver asked. His youngest son, Castor, replied proudly, "I will do it." "Are you sure you can manage?" "Am I not a real beaver, Father? Of course I can manage. I promise." I'm so glad to hear that. Then take the mission, son." Castor went into the darkest part of the forest to find proper branches. They were easy to find, but it turned out that it was much harder to cut them down. He needed a lot of them, nothing less than 10 branches. Castor gnawed at the wood for a long time, but finally he was done. Now he only had to carry the 10 branches back to the dam. But, I'm very tired. I should take a short rest, thought Castor. He curled up on the cut branches and took a nap. While he was sleeping, the first drops of rain fell on the ground. When his face began to get wet, he opened his eyes and saw that he was late. In a panic, he started to drag the branches back to the dam. All the while, the rain was getting heavier. The water surged, and in the end, the dam burst and flooded the forest. Castor ran as fast as he could, hoping he could still fix everything. But it was too late. Everything had washed away. Forest dwellers tried to climb on branches that floated by in the water. Castor found that he also had to climb onto the floating branches. Suddenly, he noticed his father floating on a branch nearby. "Castor!" Father Beaver cried. "Where have you been?" "I'm sorry, Father. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry." "I know. We'll discuss it later. Right now, we must save the forest. Grab this rope and wrap it around your branch." The beavers started to build a raft. It was really big. There was room for all the animals on it. The beavers saved them from the flood. It was a very hard day, but fortunately, everyone was saved from the cold water. There were so many animals on the float. No matter how squeezed, they were very pleased. Now they had to wait for the storm to end. By the next day, the water had drained away, and Father Beaver decided to talk to his son. "Castor, do you see what happened yesterday? Do you understand that we counted on you because you had given a promise?" I just wanted to take a short nap. I'm sorry, Father." "Oh, Castor. What do we do now? So many animals have been hurt." "Let me build new houses for them. I think that would be fair enough." "It sure will. And we are going to help you. After all, you can't take on such a big job alone." And so our skillful builders, beavers, solved the challenging task and built new houses for all the animals. From then on, everything in the forest was in good order again, and Castor understood that responsibility was the key. The end.
DeVeo Media presents Little Story Series. A Guest on the Farm by Dale Neal. There once was a beautiful young girl named Marie, who lived and worked on a busy little fruit farm deep in the countryside. Every morning she would wake early, hop aboard her bright red tractor, and ride around the farm. She climbed her trusty old ladder and picked the fruit from the trees to sell at the local market. But try as she might, Marie could never pick the tastiest, sweetest fruit from the highest branches. Even from the very top of her ladder, she just couldn't reach. Yet, she still hoped to one day gather that tasty fruit. Every evening, when her work was done, she would sit alone on the warm hillside, eating the sweet, fresh fruit while watching the summer sun set peacefully over the meadows. One day, quite unexpectedly, a lone giraffe came galloping through the farm. He was by far the tallest animal Marie had ever seen, taller than an acorn tree, and extremely frightened. "What's the matter, my mighty friend?" asked Marie. "How can I help?" The giraffe cried, "I was being chased by hunters, and now I'm lost and alone. I'm so tired and hungry, and I have nowhere to go." "That's so sad," said Marie. "Why don't you stay with me? You'll be safe and you can eat all the fresh leaves you like." "Oh, thank you so much," exclaimed the giraffe. "That's so kind of you. I promise I'll be no trouble at all." Over time, Marie and the giraffe became the very best of friends. When she wasn't working on the farm, they would laugh and play together in the warm summer sunshine. Every evening, they would sit together on the hillside. The giraffe would munch on his leaves, Marie would eat the sweet fruit, and together they would watch the summer sun set peacefully over the meadows. One warm, sunny afternoon, the giraffe was taking a walk through the fruit trees when he happened upon the barn where the fruit was stored for the market. The giraffe slowly and carefully pushed his long neck through the open window and peered inside. There he saw barrels, baskets, and carts filled to the brim with juicy, ripe fruit. The giraffe could not resist. The fruit looked so tasty and sweet, and he was bored of eating nothing but leaves all the time. He squeezed his enormous body inside and started eating the sweet fruit. It was delicious. The hungry giraffe ate and ate until his belly was fit to burst and the barrels, baskets, and carts were empty. His face turned a bright shade of green and he began to feel extremely unwell. Later that afternoon, Marie was enjoying a peaceful stroll through the farm, hoping to find her friend. Suddenly, she heard a pained groaning sound coming from the barn. She burst into the barn to see what had happened and was surprised to find the giraffe sitting forlornly among the empty carts, barrels, and baskets, surrounded by peels and seeds. Marie was shocked and saddened to see that her friend had eaten all the fruit and there was now none left to sell at the market. "I'm so sorry," said the giraffe. "I just wanted to taste the fruit, but it was so tasty that I kept eating. Now I feel unwell." "Fruit is tasty," agreed Marie, "and it's good for you, but eating too much can make anyone feel unwell. But don't worry, you'll soon feel better." She added reassuringly, "But now I've eaten all the fruit. How can you go to the market?" asked the giraffe, feeling extremely guilty and rather silly. "I have an idea," replied Marie. "With your long neck, you can easily pick the sweetest, tastiest fruit from the highest branches where no one else can reach. Would you like to help me on the farm?" she asked. "It would be my pleasure," replied the giraffe. So from that day forward, Marie and the giraffe worked happily together on the farm. They rode around in their bright red tractor, gathering the fruit in the sunshine. They picked only the sweetest, juiciest, most delicious fruit from the very highest branches where only the mighty giraffe could reach. people would travel from miles around to buy the fruit, everyone agreed it was by far the sweetest and juiciest fruit in all the land. Every evening, after working on the farm, Marie and her friend the giraffe would sit together on the warm hillside, eating the sweet, tasty fruit while watching the sun set peacefully over the meadows. And the fruit tasted so much sweeter when it was shared. The end. DeVeo Media presents Little Story Series, Don't Act Haughtily, written by Altaisi Nalov. It was the last month of autumn in the forest, and all the animals were preparing for winter. A little mouse was carrying berries to her mouse hole. A hamster stuffed his mouth with nuts and acorns. He was carrying them to his house too. And then there was a badger, Elliot, who thought the other animals were acting silly.
Why are you worrying? Winter's still far away, and the food isn't going anywhere, he said. Let's have some fun instead. Hey, Mouse, let's go to the lake and swim.
Sorry, Badger, I'm too busy. I need to replenish my food stock.
Well, I guess I'll just chill by myself then,
Elliot replied. The badger dove into the lake and splashed in the water.
It's so cool! Why does no one else get it? Maybe because I'm the smartest guy around.
Elliot swam in the lake until he got tired.
Time to go find some other entertainment now. Hey, hamster, let's go swing on the swings.
No thanks. The winter is coming soon and I need to replenish my stock.
Pshaw, you don't understand anything. Swings are so cool. Well, I'll just go swing by myself then.
Elliot climbed onto the swings and swung back and forth, back and forth.
Whee! Woo-hoo!
When Elliot got tired of swinging, he leapt off.
I think I'll go enjoy some refreshment after so much physical activity.
The badger found a big bramble bush and started to shovel in berries, one by one.
Nom nom, so yummy! How smart am I? Resting and eating tasty food? Most importantly, I'm not wasting my time like the others.
A hedgehog passed by and overheard what Elliot said. He had a slight limp but was still preparing for winter. Listen, Badger, you better not eat all the berries. Make sure you save some for the winter time.
I know what I'm doing. There's plenty of food in the forest that's not going anywhere. Why am I the only one who seems to understand this?
Hey, Badger, if you think you're smarter than everyone else, you're going to get into trouble.
Don't bother yourself about me. Nom, nom. Smart guys never get into trouble. I'll figure it out on my own. Nom, nom.
The hedgehog left the stubborn badger alone and hurried back home. The badger continued eating berries.
Ouch. I seem to have stuffed myself silly. I'd better hit the hay now and have more fun tomorrow.
Elliot crept into his hole, pulled the blanket over his head, and fell asleep. While he slept, the season's first snow arrived overnight. No one had ever seen so much snow in the forest. In the morning, Elliot left his hole to find breakfast, but he could not see anything. Everything was covered in a thick layer of snow.
Oh my, where did all of this come from? Why did nobody warn me?
Oh dear, what am I going to do?
The badger was scared. A hare ran by, and the badger stopped him.
Hey, hare, help me please. I'm hungry, but there's no food around. Okay, I can help you. Follow me. I know where the food is.
The badger was happy and followed his new friend.
Here you go.
The hare exclaimed suddenly, but Elliot could only see a big fallen tree.
What should we eat?
He asked.
What do you mean? The bark, of course. It's so tasty, you're gonna like it.
Elliot tasted a small piece and immediately spit it out.
Ugh, disgusting. Bark is impossible to eat. Sorry, hare, I've gotta go.
The badger kept looking for food but couldn't find anything. Instead, he met an elk.
Hi, elk. Help me, please. I'm very hungry, but there's no food around.
You're wrong, badger. There's plenty of food in the forest. Follow me. Walking up to some pine trees, the elk said, Here, these needles are so tasty. Try them. Elliot tried chewing on the needles before spitting them out.
Ouch! What a prickly food! How can you eat this? Sorry, I've gotta go.
Tired, Elliot kept wandering around the forest, hoping to find something edible. But the only thing visible was bright white snow. Before long, he stopped beside an old hut that was hidden in a snowbank.
Maybe I can take a short rest here,
he thought to himself. But as he pulled on the doorknob, he realized that the door was locked. This must mean that someone lived in the hut. The badger knocked on the door, hoping that someone was inside to open it for him. All of a sudden, he was met by the very same hedgehog from the day before.
What are you doing here, Badger?
The hedgehog asked.
Oh, Hedgehog, I'm hungry, but I cannot find any food in the snow. Do you have any you can share with me?
The hedgehog let the badger in and said,
I couldn't find much food this year, so I only have very little. Yes, Hedgehog, that's fine. I promise to eat just a bit. I'm sorry for my behavior yesterday. Thanks for letting me in and sharing your meal.
The new friends lived together all winter, humbly eating berries. And when spring came, Elliot decided to plant a bunch of new berry shrubs so the animals would have plenty of food the following winter. The end. DeVeo Media presents Little Story Series. How to Follow Your Dream by Dale Neal. Deep in the woods, there once lived a squirrel, Jamie, who had never climbed a tree. Every day he would gaze up at the treetops, dreaming of all the wonderful adventures he might have up there. But the trees seemed so high, and he was just too afraid. One day, Jamie's friends were happily playing in the highest tree in the forest. He wanted to join them so much that he decided to face his fear. So, looking up, he took a deep breath and bravely began to climb. At the first branch, Jamie met the wise old forest owl, resting after a busy night's hunting. "Good morning, young squirrel. How are you today?" said the owl.
Good morning, Mr. Owl,
replied Jamie, This is the first time I've ever climbed a tree and I'm quite frightened. Don't be afraid, said the wise old owl. Just climb one branch at a time. You will face many challenges in the tree, but keep going, for when you get to the top, you will receive a wonderful reward. Thank you, Mr. Owl, replied Jamie, and he continued to climb. At the second branch, Jamie happened upon a big brown bear, lazily dozing after having eaten all the honey from the bee's nest in the tree. Go back, squirrel, said the bear. I'm about to have a snooze. My belly is filled to bursting, and I will not be moved. How can I get past? Jamie wondered. Jamie noticed the bear's big bulging belly. That looks very bouncy, he thought to himself. Jamie dived onto the bear's giant bouncy belly as though it was an enormous trampoline. Yippee! Not today, Mr. Bear! Jamie shouted as he bounced high up into the tree. At the next branch, Jamie saw a slippery, slithering snake coiled around the tree. Fresh squirrel, my favorite, hissed the snake. I haven't eaten all morning, and I am very hungry. As the snake lunged, Jamie bravely leapt into the air and grabbed onto the snake's tail. Take that, Mr. Snake! Ha-ha! Jamie yelled as he skillfully swung around the branch even higher up the tree. When he landed, Jamie was standing beside a bustling bee's nest. There was honey all over the branch.
Turn back, young squirrel, they buzzed. A bear has pinched all our honey. We're very angry and you may get stung if you come by us today.
How can I get through? Jamie wondered. Just then, he noticed a big pile of brown and yellow leaves on the branch. Sticking the leaves all over himself with honey, Jamie cunningly disguised himself as a bee. Buzz, buzz, I'm a real bee, a very real bee. Buzz, buzz, Jamie said as he carefully crept through the swarm. Surprisingly, the bees seemed convinced by Jamie's disguise and left him alone as he pressed on further up the tree. At the next branch, Jamie met a woodpecker, pecking a cozy little nest in the tree for his young family. By this time, he was very tired and was wondering if he would ever reach the top. Could I rest here for a while, Mr. Woodpecker? Asked Jamie. I'm very weary and I'm trying to climb all the way to the top of the tree. I'm afraid my nest is only small, said the woodpecker. Way too small for a squirrel. Oh no, what shall I do? Replied Jamie. I'm so tired and I need to climb even further if I'm gonna reach the top. There are lots of fresh chestnuts on this tree. If you can find them, they'll give you the energy you need to continue. Thank you, Mr. Woodpecker, said Jamie, and off he went in search of the tasty chestnuts. Using all his squirrel skills, Jamie easily found the nuts and he munched and nibbled and crunched until he was nice and full. Then, feeling refreshed, he continued further on up the tree. Jamie was nearly at the top now, and the branches were swaying in the wind. He looked down at the forest floor. He was so high up that he was afraid to continue. Just then, Jamie's friends cheered down to him from the treetop. You can do this, Jamie! Come and join us at the top! Encouraged by his friends, Jamie looked up, faced his fears, and bravely climbed to the very top of the tree. And the wise old owl was right. Jamie did receive a wonderful reward. He felt fantastic, and he was no longer afraid. And as he sat with his friends to gaze across the lush green forest, the view was truly wonderful. The end. DeVeo Media presents Little Story Series How to Reach a Star by Konstantin Zhukov. On the edge of a village, near a lake surrounded by an old apple garden, there lived a young girl named Emily. Most of all, she enjoyed watching stars. She liked to watch them light up slowly and form constellations that moved across the night sky. But the most amazing spectacles for her were the August star showers. Emily knew that if you make a wish when a star falls, the wish may come true. But she also realized that after fulfilling someone's dream, a star could not return to where it belonged in the sky. Every time a star fell from above, Emily secretly hoped that no one had succeeded in making a wish. The thought of stars being burnt out hurt her so painfully. One summer evening, when Emily was walking along the shore of the lake, she saw her friend riding a new wooden scooter. Oh, how she wished she had the same one! She couldn't stop dreaming of it for the rest of the day. Then it was night, and the sky was sprinkled with stars. Emily sat on the soft grass, gazing up in awe, but she couldn't get the scooter out of her mind. All of a sudden, a small but quite bright star broke loose from the starry cope and swooped down towards the earth. It became brighter and brighter every second. Emily watched it, transfixed. She only came to her senses when she heard something splash in the water right in the middle of the lake. The girl glanced down and saw beside her a brand new scooter made of freshly shaven wooden boards. At that moment, a very lonesome sigh struck her ear. Emily looked hard to see a sad little star floating all alone in the middle of the lake. Emily untied an old boat from its pole, jumped into it, and paddled towards the star in order to save it. When she took the star out of the cold water, it was all shivery and sickly looking. After warming itself in Emily's hands, the star gave a piteous sob and uttered quietly, "I have fulfilled your wish." "Thank you, little star," the girl said, "but my wish is not that important. You will be much more comfortable up in the sky together with the other stars than in this cold lake with frogs." Emily decided to put the star back in the sky where it belonged. She found a long, telescopic ladder lying under an old apple tree. Emily extended the ladder to its full length and tried to lean it against the moon, but the ladder was still a bit short. "Oh, what a nuisance! It's only a few inches short." Emily felt frustrated. What shall I do? At that moment, a sudden idea struck her. She took her new scooter and dismantled it into pieces. She tied 2 long wooden boards to the side beams of the ladder with her bow tie. Then she tied 2 shorter boards crosswise to form the missing steps. These 2 steps appeared to be just enough to reach the moon. Emily put the star in her school bag and started to climb up the ladder. She climbed for 2 or 3 hours. No one can say precisely because the moon is so far from the earth. Finally, Emily reached the last step, raised herself on tiptoes, and hung the star in its place. When she finished, she felt exhausted and sat on the edge of the moon to take a rest. She cast a brief look down and even had to blink her eyes. There was a sea of bright lights down on the earth, looking like a reflection of the starry sky. "Are they all fallen stars?" Emily asked the little star in surprise. No, those are your cities and villages. When the stars look down on the earth, they make their own wishes too. We also believe that our wishes can come true one day. What do you stars dream of? Emily wondered. We dream of becoming like the sun. We want to have beautiful green planets spin around us, just like your Earth does around the sun. Emily sat on the moon's edge, swinging her legs and thinking about what the stars said to her. When it was time to go back, Emily waved goodbye to the star, and the star thanked her for having rescued it from the cold lake. When Emily came down to the earth, she decided to fulfill the star's little wish. She took an oil lantern off the apple tree branch, lit a wick, gave the lantern a swing, and tossed it up into the air. As if by magic, a rush of wind picked up the lantern and off it flew, up to the sky. At that moment, the star looked down on the earth and saw a tiny spark tear off the ground, approach the sky, and flop just beside it. The following morning, the star found out that it was surrounded by colorful planets spinning round it, blue, green, emerald. And Emily found near her bed a new scooter smelling of fresh cut wood. The end. DeVeo Media presents Little Stories series, I Can Do It, by Liz Bickerstaff. All the bulls on Farmer Wilson's farm loved to plod along, chewing grass all day. Except one. Eric isn't like the other bulls. He likes to trot and canter and gallop. Eric dreams about being a racehorse like his best friend, Red. Red lives in the field next to Eric. They have been best friends since the day they were born. Eric and Red took their first shaky steps together. When Red learned to trot, so did Eric. When Red learned to gallop, so did Eric. "You'll never be as fast as we are, Eric," laughed the other horses. "Stop running around, Eric," moaned the other bulls. "But we're having fun," shouted Eric as he raced up and down the field with Red. One day, Red told Eric he was entering his first race. Eric asked Farmer Wilson if he could enter too. "No, Eric," he said, "it's just for horses." "But I can run fast," said Eric. "Watch." He galloped around him in circles, but Farmer Wilson shook his head. The next day, Eric watched as Red got ready to leave. He looked really smart wearing his new racing blanket. "Good luck, Red," cheered Eric with a big smile. "I wish you could come too," said Red. "It's not fair." Eric plodded around the field feeling sad and lonely without Red. Poor Eric. After a while, Eric had an idea. "I know, we'll have a farm race. Any animal who wants to enter can take part." He asked Farmer Wilson to put up a poster to advertise the race. "That's a silly idea," said Bertie the barn owl. "Some of us have work to do," muttered Old Ed the donkey. But the other animals thought it was a splendid idea. Filled with excitement, they rushed to get ready. When it was time for the race, all the farm animals gathered on the starting line. The pigs pushed and shoved each other to get to the front. The ducks flapped their wings in excitement. The sheep lined up behind each other. Some of the other bulls were there to race too. Eric trotted into place, knowing this was his big moment. "Okay, everyone," shouted Farmer Wilson. "Ready, steady, and with a cock-a-doodle-doo, the race started." The pigs snuffled, snorted, and sauntered down the racetrack, eating the dandelions. Oink, oink. The ducks flew off in the wrong direction. Quack, quack. The sheep got confused and ran around each other in circles. Bah. The other bulls were fast, but they hadn't learned how to gallop like Eric. Eric galloped and galloped, racing as hard as he could. He was the first one to cross the finish line. Not bad, said old Ed the donkey. Well done, Eric, panted the bulls. You ran just like a racehorse. Eric is the winner, declared Farmer Wilson. He's the fastest animal on the farm. And when Red returned home, proudly wearing his winning medal, Eric had one too. You can achieve anything when you put your mind to it. The end. DeVeo Media presents Little Story Series. Thanking the Clouds by Becky Cleanthus. Deep in the heart of Greenleaf Forest, a cluster of toadstools grew happily, all thanks to the rain. Each day followed the same pattern. Clouds gathered in the sky and began to sprinkle water on the forest floor. The toadstools drank up the water from the soil and called out their thanks to the clouds above. "Thank you so much!" shouted Tiptoe, the red toadstool. "Yes, thank you for the lovely water!" yelled Zebedee, the spotted fungus. "Thank you, clouds! See you tomorrow!" said Tilda, the tallest mushroom. One day, Toto, the yellow and white toadstool, said nothing. Toto drank the water like the others, but he stayed quiet. Tilda turned to Toto. "Why aren't you thanking the clouds?" Toto shrugged. "They come here every day. They rain every day too. It's just normal. It's nothing special." Toto didn't realize that above the canopy of trees, Koro the Cloud was listening to what he had just said. Said Koro to himself. "If my rain is nothing special, then Toto won't care whether he gets any or not, I suppose." The next day, the clouds rolled across the sky and hovered above the treetops. All of them, that was, except for one. The raindrops began to fall and the toadstools drank happily from the soil. They called out their thanks to the clouds. Toto looked around. Why wasn't he getting any rain? He peered up through the treetops and noticed that an area of cloud was missing. "That's annoying," he muttered to himself. "I guess I'll just have to drink extra tomorrow." The following morning, the toadstools had all grown a little taller. All except for Toto. "I'm so thirsty," Toto told Zebedee. "What's taking the clouds so long? I wish they would hurry." But when the clouds arrived, there was an empty patch of sky above Toto. The rain fell all around him, but his yellow spot of soil stayed dry. "This is so unfair," The yellow and white toadstool cried, "Why aren't the clouds giving me any rain?" And so it continued like this all week. The rain fell, and Toto's friends grew taller. They thanked the clouds. Finally, Toto stopped complaining and said to Tiptoe, "It's my fault that the rain cloud has stopped visiting, isn't it?" "I think so," said Tiptoe. "If we don't thank others, then we don't show that we appreciate them, and then they think we don't care." "Oh dear," said Toto. "I hurt that cloud's feelings. I didn't bother to show my appreciation. I was thoughtless." When the clouds returned the next day, Toto took a deep breath. "Excuse me, please. May I tell you something important?" "I am so sorry for my selfish behavior. I took you for granted. Not just Koro, but all of you. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for the rain." Toto bowed his head, and the clouds whispered among themselves. The next thing he knew, Toto felt the refreshing splash of rain as cold drops landed on his head and the soil around him. He looked up, smiling widely. Koro was there. "Thank you, Koro. Thank you for the rain," said Toto. Koro smiled. "You're welcome, little toadstool." That day, like the other mushrooms, Toto grew a little bit taller. He knew that he would always say thank you from now on. After all, we all have good things in our lives, and we must never take them for granted. The end. Oh Crumbs, written by Becky Glenthis.
"Oh, Fluff,
Called Mrs. Blue Sky.
my handsome cat, I've got a dish of fresh cream for you."
Fluff stretched out his arms and legs. He had been snoozing in the warm light of the window. When he heard the clink of the china dish being set down, Fluff stood up. What a good life he had! It wasn't just the daily dish of fresh cream. He also had a collar with a tag made of solid gold, and a red velvet sofa to lounge on whenever he pleased. But Fluff's favorite part of the day was tea time, when Mrs. Blue Sky would bring him a plate of delicious cheeses to enjoy. Today, it was soft brie from France, tangy cheddar from England, and Roquefort, a strong blue cheese from Poland. As he gobbled up the cheeses, Fluff didn't notice how many crumbs he dropped. He was a messy eater. Usually, he would stroll back to his velvet sofa for a nap after a big meal. But today, he decided to return to the sunny window. From his cozy spot on the windowsill, the cat looked down upon the room and immediately saw something he didn't like. A small family of mice were nibbling away at the many cheese crumbs Fluff had left scattered all over the floor. He got to his feet. His tail twitched. With a great yowl, he pounced onto the rock. The little mice ran as fast as their small legs could carry them. They disappeared into a tiny hole in the corner of the room. Fluff grumbled quietly and strolled back to the window. The next day, Mrs. Blue Sky brought Fluff's tea time treat: German smoked cheese, Greek feta, and Swiss cheese with holes. Fluff gulped, guzzled, and scoffed it all down, leaving the usual pile of crumbs. After his meal, the cat hopped up to the windowsill. He closed one eye and left the other one open. Soon enough, he heard the skittering of small feet as 3 mice approached the morsels of leftover cheese. Fluff pounced onto the floor, hissing at the mice. The biggest 2 scurried away, heading for a hole in the corner of the room. But the smallest mouse remained, looking frightened yet not running away. Fluff was puzzled. "Why aren't you afraid?" he challenged.
I am afraid,"
stumbled the little mouse.
"but I'm also very hungry. If I run away, that would mean 2 days without any food."
"But what about your dish of cream?" asked the cat. With a blank look on her face, the mouse replied,
"Nobody brings me a dish of cream."
"And what about your own plate of fine cheeses?" asked Fluff.
Nobody brings us a plate of cheese or anything else for that matter,"
said the mouse. Fluff was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Little mouse, what is your name?"
"I'm called Squeak,"
she said, looking down at the floor.
"I'm sorry, we thought you didn't care about the leftover crumbs."
"Well, I have so much to eat," he replied. "I have cream and cheese. I sleep on a velvet sofa and wear a collar made of gold."
"That sounds amazing,"
said Squeak.
"I live in that little hole over there."
She gestured towards the corner of the room.
"I eat what I find."
Fluff thought that didn't sound like a great life, and began to feel bad about chasing the mice away from the crumbs. "Okay, Squeak," he said. "My name is Fluff. From now on, I'd like your family to enjoy those crumbs. You need them more than I do." Squeak smiled weakly.
"Thank you,"
she said. Her parents slowly crept out of the little hole in the corner. Fluff went out to the garden for a long walk. "It doesn't seem right that I have so much while the mice have so little," he thought. The next day, Mrs. Blue Sky called out to the fluffy cat.
"Tea time, Fluff! It's Adam from Holland and Manchego from Spain."
Fluff licked his lips as he looked at the creamy wedges of yellow cheese. Then, using his paws, he broke each slice in half. It was another sunny day, so after his meal, the cat retired to the warm spot on the windowsill and kept one eye open. In the corner of the room, Squeak's whiskers emerged from the mouse hole. She squealed with delight when she saw what awaited.
"Mom! Dad!"
she cried happily, and they all scurried out to see the generous heap of Adam and Manchego left outside their hole.
"Thank you so much!"
The little mouse squeaked up to the cat.
"We're so very grateful."
Fluff smiled. "I have more than enough in my life, and you have so little. This works out perfectly." From that day on, Fluff left great big hunks of cheese for the mice to enjoy every day at tea time. He even let them snooze on his red velvet sofa. Well, sometimes. The end. The Greedy Bee, written by Yulia Medvedeva. Every morning, little Mia left the hive to collect nectar just like all the other bees to ensure there was enough honey for winter. One day, she noticed a vast flower meadow before other bees saw it, hurried over, and shouted,
"This meadow is mine!
I was the first to notice it. These flowers are mine.
Other bees, seeing how determined Mia was, turned around and flew to another meadow. Mia, bubbling over with joy, stuffed herself with nectar and fell asleep for a while. When she woke up, she collected nectar in a bucket and was about to take it to her beehive.
What if someone occupies my meadow while I'm flying back and forth?
She suddenly panicked.
No, I'd better stay here to protect my flowers.
She thus decided to make her home in the meadow all alone. When other bees flew by Mia's beautiful meadow and wanted to collect nectar, they asked her for permission. Mia would always reply haughtily,
No way! This is my nectar, and I don't want to share it with anyone.
Very soon, Mia got tired of sleeping in the meadow and dreamed of her cozy bed. But how could she leave her meadow unattended? She came up with an idea to construct a big sign saying,
This meadow is the property of Mia the bee. Only she can collect nectar here.
When the other bees saw the sign, they spread the news all around. Mia the bee is too greedy. Mia's birthday was coming up, so she decided to invite many guests to a party. She wrote invitation cards by hand and delivered them to everybody. On the day of the party, she decorated her meadow and carefully laid out refreshments for her guests. She waited a long time, but no one showed up. Suddenly, Mia heard a loud laugh. She flew up and saw everybody having fun in a meadow nearby. Mia couldn't believe her eyes. Why would no one come to her birthday party? Offended, she flew back to her meadow and started thinking about what went wrong, but couldn't come up with an answer.
You know what, Mia?
A voice spoke out from above. It was an old bee who, having observed Mia's antics, found it impossible to stay quiet.
It's not the meadow, but yourself that kept everyone away from your party. Myself?
Mia couldn't believe her ears.
Lately, you have acted too arrogant. Your friends used to think you were kind, cheerful, and enjoyed sharing with others. But then you decided this meadow was more important than your friends. That's why no one wants to hang out with you.
Mia thought back in dismay about how rudely she had talked to her friends, and she was struck by feelings of shame. She took some nectar and flew to the other meadow.
Please forgive my terrible behavior. I have alienated all of you and will never, ever be so greedy and arrogant again.
Deciding to forgive Mia, the other bees asked her to be friends again. The end. The Finding, written by Yulia Medvedeva. The little frog Thomas got to see his friend Lily only in summer when she came to visit her granny. They spent whole days at the pond where they swam and dove, bathed in the sun, and chatted about all sorts of things. Every morning, Thomas hurried to the pond to meet her. But that day, Lily was carried away by something and didn't even notice her friend. Thomas came closer and gasped. Lily was holding a gem of transcendent beauty in her hands. It sparkled with all the colors of the rainbow in the sun, and Thomas's eyes rested on it.
Look, Thomas!
Lily delightedly held out the gem to the little frog, and he took the treasure with care.
I found it just now. Isn't it beautiful? I went to swim, took a deep dive under an old tree root and saw it. I grabbed it at once and got out to the bank to show it to you.
It's very beautiful, Lily.
Thomas interrupted her. He was glad for his friend, but a little jealous too.
Are we going to stare at it the whole day, or are we going to play? I brought the rackets.
Lily shrugged her shoulders, hid the gem under a big burdock leaf, and off they went to play tennis. They played games and had fun for the whole day. But then Lily's granny came and reminded her that they were going to visit some friends that day.
Oh, yes! I forgot to tell you, Thomas. I'll come back later, but you don't have to wait for me. Bye-bye.
Bye, Lily.
The little frog waved goodbye and started to gather his things when he noticed the gem. Lily forgot to take it with her. The frog picked it up and was just about to run after Lily when the sun began to sparkle so nicely on the surface of the gem.
Well, it's not a big deal if I play with it for a while. Anyway, Lily will be absent all day. She won't even know.
Thomas pictured himself as a brave treasure hunter, and he had a lot of fun. But suddenly, it slipped out of his wet hand and fell into the water. He couldn't keep it from falling.
Oh no! What will I tell Lily?
Thomas worried. He dove in to find the gem. The water was muddy because of his playing, and there was no way Thomas could see the lost gem. Thomas waited until the mud subsided and the sun rays could make their way through the water. Finally, he noticed some glint.
I found it!
The frog was happy and swam closer. He grabbed at what he found, but it turned out to be just a piece of a mirror carp's scale. The frog was disappointed but continued his search. The gem couldn't just vanish into thin air.
Oh, here it is, just buried in the mud.
The gem twitched and turned out to be the shiny back of a water beetle. The frog continued to look for the gem the whole day, but all in vain. When he got tired, he climbed back to the bank and suddenly saw Lily. Thomas realized that it was already night and his friend had come back home. She was peeping under each burdock leaf and sighing heavily.
Thomas, the gem, it's gone!
Lily told her friend and burst into tears.
Do you remember where I put it?
It would be easy to lie to her and say that he didn't know where the gem was, but that would have been a mean trick. If you take someone else's stuff, you have to be responsible. The frog made up his mind and came clean.
I'm sorry. I'm the one who lost it. I won't take anyone's things without asking ever again, I promise. But I found this beautiful fish scale for you.
Thomas handed the scale to Lily with embarrassment.
It also sparkles nicely. Please don't be upset, okay? I'll keep looking for the gem, even if I have to spend the whole summer looking for it. That was really wrong. You shouldn't have taken the gem without asking.
Thomas's friend frowned.
But you also told me the truth, which was brave and honest. Thank you. I was crying because I wanted to give the gem to you, Thomas, in memory of the summer we spent together.
The friends embraced each other and made peace. Now they knew that their friendship was firm and could withstand any hardships. The end. DeVeo Media presents Little Story Series. The Union of Three Planets by Altai Zinalov. The universe is strikingly beautiful and diverse. There are so many interesting things here. A little fox named Max explores its vast expanse in his spaceship. Today, he intends to discover 3 new planets. He doesn't know their names yet, but he knows how they look. Computer, are the target planets nearby? Checking. Planets detected. We are 100,000 miles away. Excellent. Full speed ahead. The little fox rushed towards the yet unexplored areas of the universe. Max decided to begin the exploration with the most beautiful planet. He landed his spaceship, opened the cabin, and surveyed the territory. Max was stricken by the diversity of colors. He had never seen a more colorful planet before. Suddenly, he heard a voice addressing him.
Hello, who are you?
It was a little droplet, an inhabitant of the planet.
You're different from us. You look like a stranger.
Hello, my name is Max. I'm a fox and a space explorer. Could you tell me what planet this is?
Oh, this is the most wonderful planet, the planet of colors. We droplets always draw something here.
You do? Why?
Because we're meant for it, little fox. By drawing, we express our feelings, and it brings us a lot of joy.
We would have been sad if not for the glowing planet. It gives us light, and that's why you can see all this beauty.
It's so unusual,
said the fox. It turns out that not only stars can shine. I'm going to explore that planet and find out why it is glowing. Bye-bye, little droplets. The fox flew another 10 or 20,000 miles and landed on the glowing planet, where he was greeted by a local family. Why did you come here? Asked the elder in surprise. I want to know more about this planet. I want to know why it shines so bright. Oh, it's easy. This is the planet of light, and it shines because we always think of something good. But sometimes it shines even brighter, owing to wonderful melodies heard from the neighboring planet. How interesting! Is it possible that music can create such an effect? I'd like to know more about that planet, said the fox. I'm going there right now. Goodbye! Max flew another 10,000 miles and landed on the musical planet. Is there anybody here? What planet is it? He exclaimed, hoping to hear an answer.
Bum, bum, bum.
A voice sang.
Bum, bum, bum.
Another voice echoed.
We live here. We are Notes. Welcome to the planet of music.
Hello, Notes. Can you tell me how to play such wonderful melodies?
It is all owing to the planet of colors, whose beauty fascinates us and makes us sound even more wonderful. Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, I see. You're like a united body. In fact, why do you play music?
Because music gives us strength, charges us with kindness, and can work wonders.
All of you are so extraordinary. I must tell my friends about you. I'm sure they're going to enjoy drawing, playing music, and of course, thinking of something good. Max exclaimed enthusiastically.
We, the inhabitants of the 3 planets, have been good friends for a very long time. And now it's time for us to play music. Goodbye, little fox.
Max said goodbye to the dwellers of the musical planet and started his way back home to planet Earth, eager to share his discoveries with his family and true friends. The end. The Grasshopper's Gift, written by Becky Clemthus. The insects were preparing for a very special day as they gathered under an oak tree to plan the big bug parade. Greeny Grasshopper watched as Lily Ladybird scuttled over. Wow! Her spots were so beautiful. He smiled at Martin Millipede's many legs. What an interesting guy. The grasshopper sighed as dozens of butterflies settled on the ground like colorful confetti. Greenie looked down at his own bug body. It seemed so plain compared to the other creatures. His green limbs were completely camouflaged amongst the grass and leaves. This was useful to hide from predators like birds, but the camouflage also made Greenie feel a bit invisible and dull when he looked at all of his other amazing insect friends. Bert the bee, boldly striped in sunshine yellow, buzzed down to the front of the crowd.
Thank you for coming, everybody, Bert said. We're here to plan our most exciting day of the year, the Big Bug Parade.
The crowd began clapping, whooping, and cheering.
The butterflies will open the parade with an amazing air show, said Bert. Think about how you can perform your talents too.
Greenie Grasshopper swallowed hard. He couldn't possibly do anything as impressive as the butterflies. When the meeting ended, the bugs scattered in all directions, heading for their homes in holes, plants, and trees. They chatted excitedly as Lily Ladybird planned her walk routine. Martin Millipede had grand plans for the world's greatest tap dance. And the butterflies practiced their twirls and tumbles in the sky. Greenie shuffled quietly back to the long grass where he lived, feeling not very special at all. A few days later, Greenie was dozing on a thick blade of grass when he suddenly heard a commotion.
Ah, he said to himself, it's parade day.
He looked down at the excited clusters of insect crawlies making their way towards the oak tree. Greenie crept down in the grass and slid underneath a big leaf. He would hide there until the parade was over. After some time, the hustle and bustle settled down.
Why hasn't the parade started?
He wondered to himself.
It should be happening by now,
Greenie said.
Will I have to stay under here all day?
Just then, the corner of his leaf peeled back. It was Bert B. He peered underneath.
There you are, Greenie,
he cried.
We've been looking everywhere for you.
Bert looked relieved and delighted to see him.
Looking for me?
Asked Greenie.
Why? I can't do anything in the parade.
Bert looked shocked, and then he laughed.
But your music,
he said.
We need you to play your wonderful music.
Greenie slowly realized what Bert meant. He was the only creature around who could make music with his legs. He was special after all. Greenie smiled and jumped up to follow Bert. When they arrived at the parade, the insects rejoiced to see their favorite musician, Greenie Grasshopper. Greenie climbed toward the top of the oak tree and began to play a celebratory song. The crowd closed their eyes and appreciated the wonderful music. And so began the best big bug parade the creatures ever had. The end.
The Bundle of Sticks. A certain father had a family of sons who were forever quarreling among themselves. No words he could say did the least good. So he cast about in his mind for some very striking example that should make them see that discord would lead them to misfortune. One time, when the quarreling had been much more violent than usual, and each of the sons was moping in a surly manner, he asked one of them to bring him a bundle of sticks. Then, handing the bundle to each of his sons in turn, he told them to try to break it. But although each one tried his best, none was able to do so. The father then untied the bundle and gave the sticks to his sons to break one by one. This they did very easily. "My sons," said the father, "do you not see how certain it is that if you agree with each other and help each other, it will be impossible for your enemies to injure you? But if you are divided amongst yourselves, you will be no stronger than a single stick in that bundle. In unity is strength." The end. The Farmer and His Sons. A rich old farmer, who felt that he had not many more days to live, called his sons to his bedside. "My sons," he said, "heed what I have to say to you. Do not on any account part with the estate that has belonged to our family for so many generations. Somewhere on it is hidden a rich treasure. I do not know the exact spot, but it is there, and you will surely find it. Spare no energy and leave no spot unturned in your search." The father died, and no sooner was he in his grave than the sons set to work digging with all their might, turning up every foot of ground with their spades, and going over the whole farm 2 or 3 times. No hidden gold did they find, but at harvest time, when they had settled their accounts and had pocketed a rich profit far greater than that of any of their neighbors, they understood that the treasure their father had told them about was the wealth of a bountiful crop, and that in their industry they had found the treasure. Industry is itself a treasure. The end. The Hare and the Tortoise. A hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. "Do you ever get anywhere?" he asked with a mocking laugh. "Yes," replied the tortoise, "and I get there sooner than you think. I'll run you a race and prove it." The hare was much amused at the idea of running a race with the tortoise, but for the fun of the thing, he agreed. So the fox, who had consented to act as judge, marked the distance and started the runners off. The hare was soon far out of sight, and to make the tortoise feel very deeply how ridiculous it was for him to try a race with a hare, he lay down beside the course to take a nap until the tortoise could catch up. The tortoise, meanwhile, kept going slowly but steadily, and, after a time, passed the place where the hare was sleeping. But the hare slept on very peacefully, and when at last he did wake up, the tortoise was near the goal. The hare now ran his swiftest, but he could not overtake the tortoise in time. The race is not always to the swift. The end. The Lion and the Mouse. A lion lay asleep in the forest, his great head resting on his paws. A timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, ran across the lion's nose. Roused from his nap, the lion laid his huge paw angrily on the tiny creature to eat her. "Spare me," begged the poor mouse. "Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." The lion was very amused to think that a mouse could ever help him. But he was generous and finally let the mouse go. Some days later, while stalking his prey in the forest, the lion was caught in the toils of a hunter's net. Unable to free himself, he filled the forest with his angry roaring. The mouse knew the voice and quickly found the lion struggling in the net. Running to one of the great ropes that bound him, she gnawed it until it parted, and soon the lion was free.
You laughed when I said I would repay you, said the mouse. Now you see that even a mouse can help a lion.
A kindness is never wasted. The end. The Old Lion and the Fox. An old lion whose teeth and claws were so worn that it was not so easy for him to get food as in his younger days, pretended that he was sick. He took care to let all his neighbors know about it and then lay down in his cave to wait for visitors. And when they came to offer him their sympathy, he ate them up one by one. The fox came too, but he was very cautious about it. Standing at a safe distance from the cave, he inquired politely after the lion's health. The lion replied he was very ill indeed and asked the fox to step in for a moment. But Master Fox very wisely stayed outside, thanking the lion very kindly for the invitation.
I should be glad to do as you ask, he added. But I have noticed that there are many footprints leading into your cave and none coming out. Pray tell me, how do your visitors find their way out again?
Take warning from the misfortunes of others. The end. The Shepherd Boy and the Wolf. A shepherd boy tended his master's sheep near a dark forest, not far from the village. Soon, he found life in the pasture very dull. All he could do to amuse himself was to play on his flute. One day, as he sat watching the sheep and the quiet forest, and thinking what he would do should he see a wolf, he thought of a plan to amuse himself. His master had told him to call for help should a wolf attack the flock, and the villagers would drive it away. So now, though he had not seen anything that even looked like a wolf, he ran toward the village, shouting at the top of his voice, "Wolf! Wolf!" As he expected, the villagers who heard the cry dropped their work and ran in great excitement to the pasture. But when they got there, they found the boy doubled up with laughter at the trick he had played on them. A few days later, the shepherd boy again shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" Again, the villagers ran to help him, only to be laughed at again. Then, one evening, as the sun was setting behind the forest and the shadows were creeping out over the pasture, a wolf really did spring from the underbrush and fall upon the sheep. In terror, the boy ran toward the village shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" But though the villagers heard the cry, they did not run to help him as they had before. "He cannot fool us again," they said. The wolf stole a great many of the boy's sheep and then slipped away into the forest. Liars are not believed, even when they speak the truth. The end.